live without fear. And what I mean by that is that why people have stepped away from nature is because they're so fearful of it. Live without fear, because there is so much to learn. There is so much to see and to experience.
This is Climate Curious, the podcast for people who are bored, scared, or confused by climate change.
I'm Maryam, Pasha, the director and curator at TEDxLondon and the co-host of this podcast, alongside the amazing Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Hurst, activist and advocate exploring what positive masculinities can look like, and self-confessed climate normie. Just a quick one here for those keen ears amongst you. There is a new voice. Neither Maryam nor myself were available to speak to our guest, the great and inspirational Mo Brings Plenty, from Golden Globe winning television show Yellowstone, I know. But we couldn't just let the opportunity pass us by. Fortunately for us, the top brass stepped up to the plate. So, for today's interview, you'll have the pleasure of our executive producer, Josie Colter, conducting the interview with Mo, recorded live at Oxford's Right Here, Right Now Global Climate Summit. Stay curious.
Hello everybody, we are here in Oxford at the Global Climate Summit hosted by Right Here, Right Now. And I am honoured to be joined by Mo Brings Plenty, who is a renowned Oglala Lakota actor, cultural advisor and widely recognised for your role in Yellowstone. So if you've got any Yellowstone fans listening in, this one's for you. And yeah, we're going to get all the behind the scenes details from Mo. So yeah, hey Mo, how are you doing? Yeah.
I'm doing well, Josie. How are you doing today?
I'm excellent, thank you. Really excited to have you here. Tell us about yourself. Like, where are you from? What do you do?
Well, I was born and raised on the reservation in South Dakota. My father's Oglala, my mother's Minikoju, which is two separate bands of the Lakota Nation. And so my mother's from Cheyenne River Reservation. My father's from the Pine Ridge Reservation. I was born and raised there's three close by Lakota reservations: Rosebud, Pine Ridge, and Cheyenne River. I was born in Pine Ridge. I have relatives on all three reservations, and so I spent time growing up. I like to say I grew up in Lakota country, and so growing up there, I learned a great deal of our traditional understandings of the environment. And relations, and how to build relationships, how to work your way to being recognized as part of the ecosystem, so to say. And now, growing up there, I didn't have no running water or electricity, but those were the best days of my life because of the simplicity. But now I reside in Kansas, just south of Kansas City. My wife and I have a small ranch, and we have rescues as well. We have a lot of horses and ducks and so on and so forth. And it just worked out. I never I never set out to be an actor or work in the entertainment industry. I feel that I was kind of persuaded to do so because in speaking with a lot of our youth, I kept asking them, why aren't you proud of your cultural identity? And so the number one answer that kept coming back was that, well, we don't see ourselves on television, which to me at the time made no sense. But later on, I began to understand, and some grandmothers helped me to understand it even more. They said, well, if they don't see themselves on TV, to them, that means that society has not accepted who they are. So why try to be something that's not accepted? And so I thought, well, how do I change that?
And you were like, that starts with acting. Was that like your first foray into it? Or how did you then actually make the steps to, you're in huge productions now. Yeah.
It started with a friend of mine told me, a good friend of mine, Jim Hatzel, shared with me, and he told me, he said, where Marlon Brando and Henry Fonda got their start? And I said, no. And he said, they got their start in the community theater in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
So I loaded up my truck, went to Omaha, Nebraska. Didn't know anyone. I found a job, went to the community theater, took some acting classes. I started doing theatrical productions, working behind scenes, and then eventually led me to getting an opportunity to audition and getting some roles here and there. And so I did some live theater for a while.
And then it just grew from there.
And it just started from there. And then I thought, I want to just do horse stunts. I'm very comfortable with horses. And so that's kind of what I set out to do. That's where my mind was at the time. And, but the acting door kind of started opening up here and there. And eventually it got me to where I am today, which before Yellowstone, I was going to walk away from the business, the industry. I was just going to stay focused on our property. And, but Yellowstone came about and I thought, I'm going to retire after this. What a way to retire, by working with Kevin Costner, a well-known actor throughout the world. And, in which I had a great deal of respect for Kevin to begin with because of the film Dances with Wolves, which we saw last night with the live orchestra. Amazing.
Wow.
And so, but now because of the support and now society's different perspective of our existence as American Indian people or indigenous people around the world, it brought a new breath of life to being a part of the industry. And I still have a goal, and my goal is to rip down doorways for more American Indian folks to be those characters that are written, portray their own people and portray themselves, and not just in front of the camera, but also encourage them to start, filling in those positions behind the camera as well. And so I still have a long ways to go, but we're working at it.
Well, you're doing an incredible job of it. I think Yellowstone is a really interesting one as well, talking about climate, because when you first watch it, you don't think it's a climate show. You just think it's about, getting ahead and intrigue and these kind of in-wars and fights, and it's dramatic, it's thrilling. What's your perspective on where like climate film should be going, and what was also your take on like working on a project like that, and how you saw it? Did it open up new climate conversations with like people you're close with, or with with the audience? What was your like experience of that? I'm curious.
I mean, we talk a lot about tradition. I mean, and the understanding and the depths of it. It was so wonderful to film in Montana and to have those wide open spaces. Climate is important. We have horses and we have cattle on our place, and we need the ground to be healthy. There's a thing that my grandmother's always said: you are what you eat. And if we look at the process of today's society and how food is prepared, not by our mothers or our fathers or brothers or sisters, not by the individuals that prepare, cook for us, but the steps before that. How was that cow raised, and was it cared for? Because they have emotions, they have feelings also. Was there abuse? And because the abuse that occurs, and I'm going to share this, it occurs with us as human beings also. If something happens to us when we are children, a tragic moment happens, that pain is with us. It goes into our muscle memory. We could be sitting and thinking that everything is fine, and a flip of a switch, we go into this memory of that pain and that tragedy that had occurred, and it affects us in that moment. And so if a cow goes through that and experiences that, and then their life is taken, then they are packaged, and then we consume it. We are eating that muscle memory and all the experiences that cow has been through. And it affects us also. And so that itself goes to show the connection, the circle of life and everything that is. And so that's why tradition is such a big impact and so important. That knowledge is so important to come to understand. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have 1 ounce of understanding, you're not going to know how that knowledge works.
That's really interesting observation, especially given AI at the minute, because I think because it's like, we have all this knowledge, but we don't understand any of it, or like how to actually use it for good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so by being on a show, it was about preservation. It was about what people, whether it was the Dutton families or Chief Rainwater and them from the Broken Rock Reservation on the show, it was about preserving. Because if you don't preserve those spaces right now, we're not that far over this imaginary line that I feel that we have now crossed that is affecting the environment. I mean, you look at the climate today, and look at the sicknesses that has evolved, all the things that are coming about that we can't even cure. Cancers being one of them.
Yeah.
So if we just pull back just that little bit, it doesn't mean that we have to give up the comforts that we've come to understand and know. We just have to allow these spaces to be preserved for nature and the earth to heal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's what I loved about the show, is that it was about preserving. It was about the whole preservation concept.
And do you think, because it also shows different groups trying to preserve it in different ways, but maybe is what you're saying is like, well, actually it's all the same goal, like, or are you saying actually there's different ways of doing it, or what's your take on like preservation in general? And I think a lot, and just mapping that out to the world, like I think so many people are concerned about climate change and these kind of bad impacts happening, but people are trying to do it in different ways, whereas maybe we could work together.
Absolutely. I mean, if we don't work together, I had the privilege of getting together with Julian Lennon and Jean-Paul, the High Commissioner of the UN, Volker, and so many other individuals. But based on the books the children's books that Julian Lennon has put out. Sorry, I was thinking about his father, but Julian, the Love the Earth is the one that we did a panel yesterday at the South by Southwest in London. And, I understand and know that just because we all come from different parts of the world, or we may even have different languages or different religious beliefs, there's still an understanding that comes with the knowledge that each of us have. And when we can come together and put our minds together, then we are working towards a better world for the children and generations yet to come. So it is important that we all come together. If we don't come together, then we're going to lose the battle. I mean, it's definitely not too late. This is not a doom and gloom talk that I'm giving here. This is now's the time. Let's don't wait another 5 years or 10 years. We don't know what AI is going to do to society. We don't know what AI is going to do to our minds. Is it going to cause even more separation from nature, or is it going to give us the ability to get closer to nature? I mean, AI is not a bad thing, but I think that we as people, we have to go through this process and walk with this with great caution, be observant, and see how it is affecting not only us, but our relationship with nature. Because the further away from nature we become, the harder our hearts are going to become, and the more carelessness we're going to live with or occupy the earth with, and therefore we're going to self-exterminate. I mean, we could say we're putting the climate in a bad situation or making the environment we're placing it in a sense of endangerment, but really we're placing ourselves as a human race in endangerment. I mean, you look at the history of every civilized group of people and how long did they last? 300 to 600 years before they self-exterminated.
I know, we're literally in the pit. We're recording this in the Pitt Rivers Museum where there's dinosaur bones downstairs.
Self-extermination. I mean, honestly, and so we have to come to the understanding that, like I said, it's not too late. And it's not a whole lot of change. It's just a little step back.
Yeah.
I'm not asking us to go back 100 years or 500 years. No, it's just a little step back. That's it. And we can still continue to utilize the instruments and the tools that have been placed in our possessions today. But we have to also preserve the environment for the generations to come, because we all share the same atmosphere. What happens in Japan is going to affect the States. What happens in the States, it's going to affect here, the UK. It goes around the world. We all share the same atmosphere. We all look at the same sun. We look at the same moon. We see the same stars. We're all in this together. And this is the only planet in this galaxy that is livable for us, for beings like us. If you eliminated the trees out of the world would perish. We would all perish.
Yeah.
But if you eliminated the human race off the planet will flourish. So we better understand that, okay, we need to learn that. Those are the greatest professors as well. And why are they the greatest professors? When a buffalo calf is born, the moment it enters this world, it knows and speaks the language of its people. We are the only creatures of all creation that are born without the ability to speak a language, nor can we walk in a matter of minutes. We are the only ones born without kneecaps. So our only form of communication is kicking and crying. That is it. But yet, when a baby horse is born, it knows and speaks the language of its people, and it can walk in a matter of minutes from the time of its birth. When a wolf pup is born, same. You could take a seed, you could take an acorn. Oh, it doesn't know how to communicate, it doesn't speak, I can't hear it, but you throw that on the ground and you walk away. That acorn knows when to begin its growth. You lay an infant, a human child, a human infant on the ground, that human infant's going to die in a matter of days because it knows nothing. So why is the environment important? Because a great knowledge of understanding of how to live with this planet is there. Now, I'm not saying that going to the university is a bad. No, we need that also. So, and we could have both. We could have both. And that way, why is both important? Because then we're going to be able to see this, what is invisible will now appear line of what not to cross. So it's important. Right now, we're smothering the ocean. That's why the jet stream's out of whack. Why our air we're smothering it. It's that simple. We're smothering it. And so, I mean, I can go on and on.
And I really love how closely you've lived with the natural world, but you're also part of the creative world. Like, okay, let's call it the Hollywood world. You've just been at South by Southwest, the technology world. Like, you just told me you just met King Charles. You're part of the royal, like your political world. Like, I just love the lens you're taking on it, because you're able to talk across all these things, but say, yeah, they all matter, everyone matters, but there's a better way to do it. And I think that's just fantastic. I wanted to hop back to some of when you first started making steps into being an actor, like getting into the creative world, like what were some of your peers and like friends' responses to this? And you said like your grandmother said, well, they don't see themselves on TV. And so were they cheering you on? Like, what did they, or were they like, this is a mad idea? Like, what did they think?
Well, I mean, it's about representation of our people. And so my peers, they're happy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still dear friends, almost like brothers and sisters. I mean, that hasn't changed one bit. And my elders definitely, while they were around, were very proud. But I'm just a country boy. Mm-hmm. I'll always be, just that. And I will never forget where I came from. Mm-hmm. And I know what it's all about. And again, it's about the proper representation of our existence, of our traditions. So that's still always at the forefront of my mind. It was a great privilege I like to consider Mina like a sister of mine. That's what she feels like. And just her hard work in making it possible for me to be able to have the opportunity to meet King Charles, whom I have a great deal of respect for. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And some human beings never had to worry about fighting for their existence. And some of us do, unfortunately, still today. And how do we, I don't like using the term fighting. For me, it's about just standing up taller, holding my head up, and being open-minded and walking through this world with love and compassion for all beings, whether it's a spider or another human being from another part of the world, because I understand and know that it is the higher power who loves diversity. And if I can't find a way to coexist with what's here now, then who am I to believe I would be welcome there in the next life? And so I have to find that understanding here. And so in doing so, it brought a great deal of peace for me. In my people's traditional language, we don't have a word for war, nor do we have a word for death.
Oh, wow. It's
simply coexistence, love and compassion, eternal life. And when you make that transition, or when you do pass from the physical, then we don't call it death, we call it a transition. And how you lived and how you treated others will determine your destiny. That's how we see it. We've always seen that way since millennium. And it's never changed.
I love that. I think that gives our listeners a bit of an insight into some of these, the approaches and the mindset and the way you're living. And I love the way also you were talking about kind of the life on your farm and how close you are with animals. And I was wondering if there's any other kind of practices or approaches like you could share with our listeners about, how you choose to coexist and the sorts of things you do, or like what makes you happy in the day to day.
So what makes me happy is if there's a spider in our house, we catch that spider, we take it out and we set it free because I know it has a purpose. Our cows, I let them know that they're loved. I talk to them. And we are kind and gentle. We are patient with them. If we need to doctor one because it stepped on a thorn on its hoof and it's got a slight infection and we have to doctor it. If it's a struggle to try to bring that cow in to doctor it, then it's like, okay, we'll let it rest and we'll just stay calm and relaxed, and maybe tomorrow. And then we'll have the opportunity, but usually it goes good. And so it's just about being patient. It's about being observant. It's about listening, truly listening. People hear a lot of stuff, but they don't know how to listen. So I try to maintain the ability to listen. Just because someone has a different belief doesn't mean that my way is better than theirs. They're going to share something that may help me to overcome my own struggles with what it is that I believe in. And so my grandfather always shared that with me. You know, it's like Mount Everest. You have the summit. You have one spot that is the highest. All the paths lead to that one point, and those paths crisscross. And so as you're going through your own path of life, you're going to come across others. And if you truly take the moment to listen, they're going to share something that may help you as you're walking on your own path. It doesn't mean you have to change. It just means that they have given you a gift to overcome your own struggle. And so, you know, I just feel very fortunate and blessed that the higher power has given me life in this time. You know, we could say it's a time of struggle, but it's really not. It's a great time to be alive.
I love that. And you've worked like on various other creative projects as well. You know, I read you'd done some work with Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what have been some really memorable moments where you feel like all of your different worlds have collided and you feel really kind of like you're living as your best self? That
occurred yesterday. I mean, every moment as we grow, you know, yesterday, I mean, I'm sitting there beside Julian Lennon, and I've always admired John Lennon. You know, I've always been a dreamer as well. But here's Julian Lennon, and then here's my dear friend Jean-Paul to the left of me, and I remember we were standing there, and King Charles just entered, and I was looking at him, and I was thinking, is this real? I mean, as an American Indian, as a Lakota man from South Dakota in the States, I was thinking to myself, is this really happening? Because no one from the American Indian people has ever had the opportunity to shake a royal family member's hand. And so that I was thinking I was dreaming, that it wasn't real until he and I locked hands and we shook hands and we had eye contact and we had a little brief moment of chatting.
What did you say to him?
He asked where I was from, and so I shared with him.
Yeah.
I shared with him that I was just on a panel and I sing, and he goes, "You a singer?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a singer." And he asked me if he was going to get to hear me. And I said, "Well, that's up to you." And so, but it was just that moment was, okay, all of this, everything, because it still felt like it was a dream the moment I arrived in London. The moment we got here, it just didn't seem real until things began to happen. And I'm like, wow, this is real. So I was pinching myself this whole trip.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I wanted to flip back a little bit actually to South Dakota. So we have done over 250 episodes. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years. We have never had anyone on from South Dakota.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to ask you, what's it like there? And how are people being impacted by, you know, a changing climate already?
You know, South Dakota is very beautiful. We have the Black Hills. We have the Missouri River that you can still swim in and fish out of. And we have the Badlands.
Ooh, what are they?
They call them the Badlands because it's almost kind of like it almost looks like the landscape of Mars.
Wow.
Or some other planet. I mean, there's really no vegetation.
There's just like nothing there.
I mean, look it up. Google Badlands of South Dakota. I mean, to me, it is heaven on earth. It is so beautiful. I remember riding horseback through there so many times, and how peaceful and how That's where I experience true silence with no interruptions. And so it is so beautiful. And it changes throughout the day. In the morning, they're one color. In the afternoon, they're another. In the evening, they're another color. And so it's a reminder of how life is. It is always going to be changing. It's not the path that we think it's going to be. It's the path that was already dreamt for us. And so, you know, I love it. I love it there. But now I reside in Kansas.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful there too. I mean, everywhere. Oxford here is beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
Where we're at is beautiful. And so everywhere is beautiful. It's all depends on the individual's eye and their mind, how they see it. And just the drive here to see the countryside is beautiful. I was just looking out the window, imagining how beautiful it would be to ride horseback through here. I love riding horses.
I know. I'm seeing a pattern here. You're like, this with horses, this with horses.
Everything's with horses for me. And it's so beautiful here. We saw, I was watching the red kites, correct? The red kites. I mean, we have red-tailed hawks where we're from. And so the red kites are beautiful. I mean, just watching them fly. I mean, so it was just, I loved it. The air is wonderful. I mean, so it's good to be here and get to experience it all.
And I wanted to wrap up with, a question about, you know, kind of future generations, and if you could pass on like one message or let's not say one piece of wisdom, because that's putting a lot of pressure on, but let's say if you could pass on one message to future generations about, you know, how we should treat the planet, what would it be?
Live without fear. And what I mean by that is that why people have stepped away from nature is because they're so fearful of it, because of how people view whether it's a bear or a wolf. You know, we made them predators, but really we as human beings, we are the most vicious predators the world has come to know. And so if you live without fear, then you're going to gain an understanding, and you're going to be able to observe how the environment functions. There's an ecosystem, and we fit as human beings. We are designed to fit within that ecosystem to where it'll never disrupt it, because not only have my people done it for centuries and generations, so has the traditional people throughout the UK, throughout India, throughout Asia, you know, all over the world. We all come from a tribe somewhere. And we have tribal ancestry. We all come from original languages that nature was kind enough to give with us, to share with us, you know. And so, as I stated early on in our interview, that we are the only creatures that are born without a language. And so, like my people, the Buffalo Nation, the Buffalo is the ones that were kind enough to give us a language. You know, and the horses, we've always had horses long before the Spanish took theirs to the States. We've always had horses. And so the horses were that constant reminder of how to be with one another, be helpful. At times we may have to carry our loved ones or our friends when they are going through struggles, and how to maintain that social structure. The horses were that constant reminder when they lived with us. And so live without fear. Because there is so much to learn. There is so much to see and to experience. And there's a whole world. We have a saying now with Julian and Jean-Paul, you know, there's a whole world to fall in love with. So if you live without fear, you're going to give yourself a fair opportunity to come to know that world. And when you come to know that world, you're going to be a part of it. You're going to see where you belong. You're going to see your purpose in life, you know, because so many people live in a state of confusion. And because they're in the state of confusion, they feel like they keep asking, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? I'm trying to find my purpose. Nature has that purpose for you. It has the instructions for you to understand that purpose. And so you have to turn back to that. Don't forget that. I didn't attend a university or a college. I went to the University of the Universe, which is nature. Those were my professors and my guides. My guidance came from my teachers. from my elders, from my teachers in the classrooms. They kept saying, look over there too, because that is going to be a part of your life. You need that just as much as you need this in your life to live. And so live without fear. Sorry, I went to the moon and back with that one.
I love it so much. No, it's such a powerful phrase, because I think you don't even realize you're living with fear, but you actually are. Even now in my head, I was thinking, oh yeah, I was fearful about that. I'm feeling fearful about that. And it's like, how about just let it be?
You know, the more you're uncomfortable in a good way. There is a sense of uncomfort in a negative or in a bad situation. I would never put myself in a bad situation. But outside of that, when it came to nature, when I was able to step away from my comfort zone and place myself in a way to feel discomfort, is when I began to learn. And that's the end. That's a wrap. Oh, well, and so, I mean, that's really even like acting. I mean, for me to grow in this business, I had to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. You just had to be like, I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah.
I'm just going to head out and give it a go, see where it goes.
Absolutely. And so
without expectation and without like, oh, I'm only doing this if it goes well. I think that's another thing that is really prevalent nowadays. It's like, oh, I'm only going to do this thing if it goes really well.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, just give it a go.
You know, and that's what I love about nature. Is that you know, it's the same thing, but the difference with nature and society is nature is brutally honest. Where in society they'll tell you with a smile on their face, okay, we'll give you a call. Yeah. And they never do. You know, and so I wasn't the most popular kid growing up in school. I've been rejected quite a bit, and so I was used to it. That prepared me for this journey, and I didn't know it.
Yeah, whereas nature just says, nope, not doing that.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Storm today, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for joining Climate Curious and sharing your curiosities and how you got into kind of climate. And it sounds like you were at it since birth. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you for joining us this week. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode.
If you did, please hit the follow button to make sure that you get next week's releases.
And why not reach out with your very own climate confessions?
While you're at it, please leave a rating and a review.
Now, let's shout out to our fabulous team behind the pod.
Executive produced by Josie Colter.
Produced by Ben Beheshty.
Music also by Ben Beheshty.
Communications by Tara Cooper and Issey Gladston.
Curation by Deesha Chandra.
Hosted by Ben Hurst.
And Maryam Pasha.
And remember,
stay curious.